Hi Tea Society, welcome back to the Anti-Social Plan. Today we are celebrating Jihyo's birthday. I'm so excited, and we are checking out her Killing Me Good choreography now. This is going to be a two-parter. We're going to be checking out the dance practice and then the performance video because it's her birthday and I'm here to give. And it may also be a little bit selfish because I want to see the dance practice before the performance video just so I can make sure I don't miss anything scientific in the choreo before we get into the performance and she really gets into character and stuff. That being said, maybe pray for me that I make it through this okay, because I left that music video, one, being willing to fight anyone who might have ever broken her heart, and two, if she needs a shoulder to cry on, I volunteer. I'm just putting in my resume just in case. Maybe I'll never get contacted, but at least I tried. But I'm excited to get to see this dance practice and performance and just get to celebrate some more of Jihyo. Like, being a performer, I feel like she just comes alive. She becomes so much of herself when she's performing. So I'm excited for this. Also, I know that there are two dance practices. There's one where the camera is moving around, and then there's this one where it's a steady cam. I'm picking the steady cam because I'm here to look at the choreography. So we'll see the camera work in the performance, I'm assuming. But I mean, if I have to go back and watch the other one, just let me know down in the comments. I'm here to give, right? It's all about making sure that Jihyo gets the attention that she deserves for her birthday, and definitely not for any kind of selfish reasons whatsoever. Let's check out this dance practice.
Yeah.
I'm already in danger. And it's just the dancers. That lean? And the hair. Ma'am, you've just started. We've just started, and I need you to not be like that, okay? The hair flip was impressive. I love that head nod on the production too. Ooh, good footwork there. That chest isolation? Ma'am. Ma'am. I was gonna talk about something else, and then I forgot. All thought left my brain. I felt slow down body roll back. Ma'am. I think I was gonna talk about the wrists. Like the picture there with the two columns, the back dancers too. Ooh, sorry. Before we get into the chorus, love that kind of like wipe over for the change in formation with the two dancers at the front. That was really cool. But I was also, if we can get to some actual like technical stuff and not just me, you know, being bias wrecked left and right, we have some cool isolations. Like I already said, chest isolations, but it's something that they're using a lot, and leading movements with the shoulders, which is really interesting, especially since I was paying attention to their hand shapes. They have very limp hand movements in terms of they don't have a strict hand form shape that they need for a lot of these moves. It's just like the wrists are where the movement is happening, right? So we had that one movement where they had like their arms down with the wrists. That was where like the fingers, like the actual hands were loose, but the wrists were leading that movement. And even just right there before we got into the change of the formation, before the chorus, we suddenly see like actual tension there where she like reaches out and we start to see actual tension in her hand. She has a very deliberate hand form shape there, as opposed to at earlier points where it's a very like it's leading with the wrists and the elbows with a lot of the movements and like shoulders as opposed to the hands. And a lot of times when you're trying to have really like fluid movements, you want the motion to go all the way to your fingertips. You want to complete the motion, and with a lot of this it's like flowing between those joints, like the chest isolation, the shoulders, the elbows to wrist, and then they like float, right? The hands just float at the end, and it doesn't really finish the movement because it's too busy like moving on to the next thing, which is actually pretty cool. It has this very fluid, kinetic feeling of everything flowing into each other. We don't have a lot of hard stops with Jihyo specifically. We have some of them with the images that the backup dancers are making around her, so it's a nice contrast. See you leading there with the elbows. So we're trying to get, ma'am, I was gonna mention hand shapes. We're getting more of that tension, right? There's actual tension in the muscles as opposed to you can hold your hand out. This is no tension, right? So we're getting a lot more of that in the chorus as a way of like sharper movements, right? A lot sharper and then smoothing out at certain points, but this like repetitive motion with them so that it's like contrasting with some of that very like kinetic, flowy, constant movement that we had earlier on. I love all the shapes that the backup dancers are making with her too. Like flowing really well together. Unnecessary. Ooh, love that like leg movement on the opposite side of that hand movement. Ooh, cool image. Ooh, solo moment? I mean... Ooh, I love that she stepped forward into this placement. It seemed like right now she's starting to maybe move, but she planted her feet and then everyone moved around her, right? That's a really cool image, especially given some of the aura of this song is that she's planted, she's steady, and things are moving around her, flowing around her. See, she like plants her feet. She moves them a little bit, but she's staying within that pocket. And hasn't moved. Until then, she steps back. See, that was leading with the shoulder. Ooh, leading with the shoulder, and then the backup dancer's also having a shoulder movement there. Love that stomp. I love that too, like you hear the gunshot, like sound in the production, and then the head like roll back. That's cool too. See, the contrast there with the tension in the hand shapes and then loose again. She also looks like she's having so much fun. I love that lean on the vocal. That's my favorite move. Just in terms of like silhouette. Ooh, that was a good like da da and then flowing, right? Like, it had like this almost like tick to get the hands into formation and then super flowy afterwards. To go with that vocal too. Ooh, we're doing floor work? Dang. Ooh, see, that's what I'm saying. Her having the arms out and they're flowing out around her. It's really cool. There's these great moments in which it's almost like the backup dancers are, I don't know, specifically isolating out, right? They're doing something that is very separate from what Jihyo is doing, which makes her a great focal point in the formation because she's an outlier, right? And then moments where the dancers are flowing really nicely along with her movements, but that one's kind of obvious where she's leading with these hand movements, but there's lots of little moments where she'll be leading with some isolation that's going through from a shoulder or chest or hip isolation, and like the dancers are flowing with that movement, something that is more, I don't know, condensed into like her space, like I was saying before about her kind of planting her feet for a significant amount of times, like half of the second verse where she was within like this tiny pocket and her movements were just staying within that. She shifted her feet and where she was standing a little bit in terms of the angle and that, but she basically stayed within the same square that she was in, and all of the dancers flowing around her to do the choreography. It's so interesting, the dynamics there. Great use of tension in those movements too. Ooh, I love that. I love that move so much. Like, they're smooth with it. Ooh, I wasn't expecting her to change the level and have her kneeling down while the rest of them are standing. Interesting. See that? They're like, they activate their movements with the turn of her head. Like, she's very much like the controller of a bunch of the movements. Wow. Obviously gonna be great because Jihyo, she never disappoints. She always shows up. And look, some of the fluid movements, I was like, ma'am, I need you to not smile at me while you're dancing like that. I need you to not be like that. And I may have gone a little bit into performer mode as a form of self-preservation, which I won't have as much in the performance. This is why I like steady cams for dance practices, because it allows me to go into, like, revert back to my youth when I was performing a lot more. And I used to be in my, I don't know, almost like dance teacher mode. As you see with a lot of stuff in K-pop, it was a little bit different because I wasn't always looking at dance because that wasn't my specialty, but I'd be watching people perform and taking notes and giving feedback and all of that. So it helps me revert back to that professional as opposed to going into this as the fan. But there's some really cool dynamics in that choreography in terms of like really fluid movements, and then having those kind of like isolations of this almost like tutting, ticking. Again, I don't know all the terminology, but like having those hard stops in some of the movements, especially since we have some of the vocalizations are broken up in the way that she's singing them, so they're like hitting those at certain points and very flowy, having those more, again, contrasting right down to the hands, right? Having tension in the hands at some point and limp at some point, where it's like sometimes there are deliberate movements that they needed or shapes that they needed to have, and then times when they didn't and they were very loose about it. It was a little more grungy. Just a great way of flowing in and out of the formations in terms of like how the dancers were accenting Jihyo throughout this. They were either going out of sync with her in order to, again, have her stand out, or they were flowing along with her in order to accentuate the movements that she was making, which is really cool. She was very much the center of this, which she's supposed to be, but sometimes you'll have dancers make an environment around the dancers and it'll assist in storytelling that way. But this is more of, they were an extension of her, which is really cool. I'm excited to see the performance, but also a little bit terrified. I wasn't thinking about what kind of fits we were getting. Though I will say, her outfit, even the outfits in the dance practice, more like uniform, right? Like she wasn't wearing something that contrasted with the other dancers. They were all wearing like all black outfits. And she still stood out because of the way that the choreography worked. It was supposed to have her be a focal point. But I think also having the backup dancers wear something that had Jihyo like blend in with them meant that when their movements were flowing with her, it looked more uniform. Whereas if she had worn something that made her contrast a lot, she could have worn something like all white as a contrast to them, which you'll see a lot in other choreography videos, right? Well, they'll have like all the backup dancers will be like in all black, and then we'll have the main group is in colors of some kind to make them pop in the formation. And I feel like if she had done that, flowing movements of it wouldn't have worked as well. Does that make sense? I hope so. I'm a little bit excited and therefore stuttering. Oh, okay. Hi. Yes, hello. Yeah, I see you, yes. Ooh, that light turning on. I do like we're starting at like the back of the formation. Ma'am. Ma'am. You do not stare into my soul like this. And smile. Dancing in like the Tims is impressive too. Ma'am. I'm losing all my senses. You're taking me to places, and you know that I can say it. Sorry, before we get into it, I just have a thought. No, I'm not crazy. Okay. Here. Am I crazy or is she like too far over? And I was like, is it the camera? But she like steps over. But it's messing up the balance. And I'm like, I did not notice that in the dance practice. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention again. Maybe that's why I was like, maybe it's the angle, because the angle in the dance practice is like straight on it. It's a steady cam. But it's not, look, not, hey, she looks great. She's performing great. Not center. Maybe I just need something as a defense to be like, let me focus on something that is not her charisma coming from my entire existence. She has this thing where she like half smirks and I need her to not. Cameraman, I just for science. Also, she had like, yeah, like we had more jewelry in that shot. Oh, I just didn't notice I didn't notice that she had like a chain around her. There's no good place for me to go back. Around her waist. Don't smile sweetly at me like that. What did that pizza do to you? I do kind of like the change up in her, like, because she has a solo moment. So letting her, there's no good place for me to rewind. Dang. Okay. I like that for her solo moment, we had her in a different part of the set. Yeah. No, I'm remembering. I'm remembering why I came out of this music video being like, is she a bias? She wants to be. She makes a good case. Sorry. I was like, there's the intense eyes from the backup dancers too. Shout out to them. They did a great job. But I need neither of them to look at me like that. I don't even know your name. Don't look at me like that. I like that image too. The choppier vocal delivery, so they all kind of like hit the different parts of it. I love that senses. I don't know, there's just something very like confident, feminine. It's great. God, don't smile at me like that. The cameraman knew what he was doing. Ma'am. Ooh, I was just thinking before this part happened, I was like looking at the floor. I'm like, this is not an ideal place to be doing floor work in shorts. So extra shout out to the backup dancers who probably had to perform this multiple times. Way to commit to your job. I do like the moving camera with the pillars too. Ooh, I like the camera moving for that movement too. I need her to not lip sync the ad-libs too. Ooh, I love the change in their facial expression there. Like she snaps into like this really like cheeky look there. Oh, it's the best move. The choreo. Fight me. Ma'am. I'm gonna need you to rein in your facial expressions while dancing like that. No. No! Ma'am. The way that her face changed there at the end too with the bullet shot. Like it's all smiles. Smiling. Why did we get a little aggressive there at the end? Ma'am? Yeah. At what point do you bias too many members in a group that you just have to bias all of them? Which I've done before. There are other groups where I was just like, smaller groups though. That's my problem, is that there were like groups of 4 or 5. And I'm like, if I bias 2 or 3 of you, that's basically the whole group anyway. So what's the point? And I just let myself bias the whole group. But with Twice, there's more members. And I feel like biasing all of them is both inevitable and probably a lot. She's such a good performer. Like I was saying, she just comes alive when she's performing. She has so much fun. Her facial expressions are just all over the place because she is just like having fun, but she's also like sticking within character of the song. This song has so much fun, like choreography from what I'm seeing in this, and also like musicality, story-wise, like it's oozing with charisma and confidence. So there's so much fun energy that you can bring to that. And I really like that a bunch of the choreo does have some of that like looser, grungier bits of it where you don't need to have a very strict shape with the movements, which means that you get to have a little bit more fun with it in terms of the character that you're bringing to the performance. And she's very pretty. Okay, we didn't hear any live vocals in this, but I know she can do that. Okay, I understand what her voice sounds like. I know that she's good, but like she's a great dancer. She's very fluid in certain parts of it. Great sharper movements at other parts. There's great texture to certain parts of her choreography. I want her to leave me alone for the sake of my sanity. Feels like it's too much to ask at this point, but sorry, I just went somewhere else for a second. I'm fine. Is my face noticeably redder after that? I feel more, it's fine. We're good. Everything is okay. Loved the choreo though. I loved the song the first time that I heard it, every time that I've heard it afterwards, because maybe I've heard it a few 100 times. It's fine. Loved the song. Loved what we got to see in the music video of the choreo within that and her performance of it. But getting to actually get zoomed out and fully get to see all the choreo. Love all the different dynamics in it in terms of them using different speed and different tension in the movements. Great just use of that. And again, great way of making her such a focal point in the choreo, which again, I get she's supposed to be the focal point. That's the point of every choreography where there are backup dancers. You're supposed to make the main performer stand out. But they just did a really stellar job with that, with the choreography in this one. And like the backup dancers doing a great job with this as well, having really great fluid movements as well, and facial expressions in the performance, and just like a really good job of having these nice fluid movements in and out of the different formations. And again, shout out to them for performing in shorts and Tims and then having to do floor work on that floor, which I'm sure looks worse for the sake of the set than it actually was, but still I would hope so. I know there's a behind the scenes for some of the stuff, so maybe I'll get some answers to that if I check those out. Just stellar performer. She's so good. It's actually frustrating as someone who used to perform that I'm like, I need you to not be good at something when it comes to performance. The fact that I watch her in the Twice state and she's super awkward just makes me feel a little bit better because I'm like, oh, okay, at least there's something where you can be like awkward and not quite know what to do with yourself, right? I'm like, at least there's something, because when it comes to performance, she always just checks off all the boxes and then some, right? She always manages to take a few steps further. And I'm like, you don't need to be doing all that. With this one, with her facial expressions, like the micro expressions she was having at certain points, phenomenal. And these little shifts between the different mood of it as well, of having this confidence and then having this cheekiness and having these moments of just delight with everything that's happening. It's just so good. I don't think I have enough vocabulary to say how much I enjoyed that, but I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click those plays to go to my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so the next time I post a Twice reaction, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.